If you want your ride personal and graphically graphic, he is the man to see. He's Mike LaValle, and to hear those in the car world tell it, he is the master of the airbrush.
I can do a little bit of everything, to a pretty decent degree.
But there's always someone eager to dethrone the emperor. And sometimes that challenger to the king is a queen.
Mike, you're in for trouble.
Graphic artist extraordinaire Yvonne Michelis is about to have a contest with LaValle as they both get a new Pontiac G6 to play with. State-of-the-art rides these competitors will use as their one-off canvases. It's Yvonne and Mike, and like their airbrushes, they're under pressure, going head-to-head in one multi-layered paint-off. About to start now on Rides. Bigger, brighter, and just plain better. Graphics on Rides have reached a place where the fight to stand out is a battle in one crowded and colorful arena. It's an arena that didn't exist quite like this just a few short years ago. With more techniques and highly skilled artists than ever, the talk about raising the bar is true talk when it comes to graphics. And this is a top talent whose work stands out in the new age of art on rolling art. Pontiac sent her their latest creation, the G6, just to see what she'd do with it.
I have a wild imagination and I love to paint, and so I want to incorporate some of my style into this specific project.
Her name is Yvonne Michelis, and she has heavy competition. From the depths of Washington State, the master of the flame. His name is Mike LaValle, and he is the Prince of Darkness. Sorta. Mike just got the same car from Pontiac, and when you're a master like LaValle, you start a project by analyzing the task at hand.
My task for this vehicle is to convert it from a plain silver G6 to something spectacular.
It's already a spectacular ride, and for both artists, part of the job will be tackling the challenges that come with the car.
The real challenge with this car is because it's a four-door, it's your kind of family, it's kind of right on the edge. It's a little sporty, but not too sporty, so I kind of want to bring out the sporty part of it more. I want to kick it up a notch.
She'll have to do just that, because in this friendly but fierce competition, LaValle will undoubtedly go all out.
I'll have to admit I'm a little bit, not nervous, but a little more apprehensive about making it, right the first shot out.
It's a challenge. I think I'm challenging myself more on this than anything else. I know he's talented, but I know that I've got some talent too, so I'm pretty sure I can come up with something that at least I'll be happy with.
In this corner, Yvonne Michelis, and she's only met her competition once before. He's Mike LaValle, two painters who've been aware of each other's work and crew for years.
I know that she's got a tough crew working with her, and I got a good crew, and I'm looking forward to a good fight.
It's a fight not tackled alone, and for Yvonne, her team runs a place with a very memorable name.
Crazy Painters.
Crazy about painting cars. That's Mitch and his dad, Tom Kelly, men who know their stuff.
I've been doing it now 52 years, and I have never, ever found it hard. I just love what I do.
She'd like to have that molding taken off. Okay, we need to R&I the car. We need to get the handles off of it, get the lights out of it, get all these logos off. We need to get it degreased, cleaned up, and then sand it. Where's my hug? Group hug.
Yvonne is using this gang to gang up on LaValle, bringing in their graphic talents and their expert procedures. Yvonne sometimes works on her own, and sometimes here with the Kellys, in this mecca of paint meeting up with metal. Getting things started, master painter Tom sets the mood as the car is pulled apart.
I've been watching my dad paint for 30 years.
It never hurts to have that much experience hovering over a project whose designs first came to Yvonne as a series of lines and classic emblems.
I had the idea all set in my head, right from the start. I don't know, it's just the way my brain works. As soon as I know what the project is, I'm like, okay, so I get all these ideas in my head and I start sketching it out and drawing it out. I did some research and I found some emblems from the old 30 styles cars that had the kind of a Art Deco look, and I wanted to incorporate that into the design.
So as Yvonne gives us clues, we gather it will serve up classic retro, along with futuristic shapes, as well as some decidedly feminine influences. But however this design evolves, one thing seems certain. This, above all, is going to be one serious G6. And speaking of serious,
I've got a theme that I need to start off with, some kind of a Gothic theme. And by Gothic, they want us to go with sort of like a Geiger-ish type of artwork.
the artist Geiger influenced the futuristic biology seen in the Alien movies.
So I'm gonna take this Geiger artwork and I'm gonna morph it in with something like ancient Egypt and come up with something totally unique. I'm gonna start off with this Pharaoh picture as my main focus on the hood of the car.
So as Mike puts his drawing hand in motion, getting face to face with that Pharaoh here at Killer Paint, back at Crazy Painters, Yvonne is settling on her key images.
I had two different concepts that kind of worked together. I have the Pontiac hood emblem that I had on the side of the car that shows speed and movement. And on the hood, I went for the kind of Art Deco look. I thought of the old movie Metropolis with the mechanical robot woman, and that came to mind. And I thought that would work really well on the hood because it's just a very strong image and it shows power, and I wanted electricity kind of moving through it.
So Yvonne's shoring up her ideas as Tom continues to set the mood here at Crazy Painters. Meanwhile, back up at Killer Paint, it's already time for Mike's crew to disassemble the G6. It's coming apart for surface alteration, and whether the job is cars or comedy, Mike depends on Robert Peffley, known region-wide as the one and only Peff.
Golly, where'd you learn how to draw so fancy like and such?
Don't you have something to do?
With Peff soon off onto another vital chore, Mike solidifies the centerpiece of his starting point, the Pharaoh who will star on the hood of the G6.
Something like that.
Something like that here, and also something like this back at Crazy Painters, where Yvonne settles on the lines and colors that will springboard her end of this friendly but fierce rivalry. And as Tom keeps working the mood on his shop door, Mike begins creating a mood of his own back at Killer.
We're painting it backwards to frontwards, so we're getting lighter and lighter and lighter as we go.
New school flames and old school flames. And if there's one thing a pro knows when it comes to graphics, it's knowing when you're done.
That's it.
Is that it?
That's enough. That's enough.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
That's enough.
Check out my new door. That's cool.
It's a door burning with hot rod culture here in this Southern California shop. A place where there's a lot of anticipation in the air. Ask Mitch Kelly.
I want to see what she does with this car. I'm excited. I definitely want to see how she does it.
Yvonne calls her design pure energy.
Start dark here, and then just take it lighter as we go back.
The car is made sportier with new side skirts, a trunk wing, and a front bumper fascia. Luckily for Yvonne, her team is tops. High-end art on cars is impossible without a great crew.
Unless you were at a shop, you wouldn't know how much you have to rely on other people. One person cannot do an entire job. It is impossible. You can't. You need prep dyes, you need body work done. Someone has to know how to lay down bases and clears. My specialty is airbrush. That's my specialty. And if I need someone that really knows how to lay graphics down, then I have to have someone like Mitch help me out.
And the help here at Crazy Painters knows exactly what to do. So as Mitch gets the colors mixed, the G6 sits ready and waiting for progress. And speaking of progress, it looks like Tom has been busy adding more to his fiery shop door. And from one skull to another, up at Killer Paint, Mike has been busy as well.
The hood's gonna be the main focal point of this piece of artwork. We're gonna take elements of this and bring it in on the side. I'm gonna have Shane, you're gonna take that and do your thing, do your magic. Okay.
Mike's resident computer whiz, Shane Burley, takes the rough sketch, scans it into a computer, and maps out shapes on top of the drawing, giving it clean lines. This is necessary to create the adhesive masking that will lay on the car hood, acting as a stencil for Mike's airbrush work. And once it's digital, Mike can experiment on his computer.
You got it all ready to go?
Yep, it's all highlighted, ready to go. Do your magic.
You are the man. Okay.
Using computers during the planning stage can also let Mike pre-visualize the colors, or in this case, the shades of gray.
This is just to get a rough idea of what it's gonna, you know, what's going on in my head as far as where I want to go with this artwork. But once I get the airbrush in my hand, that's when the real magic happens.
Well, Mike's real magic is going to be happening in short order, with the waiting car mere moments away from receiving LaValle's art.
Luckily, we got this project. I can actually experiment a little bit, so I'm pretty excited for the chance of getting play on the car.
Mike's chance to play is soon because his crew is finishing the prep.
So now we'll blow all the dust off, tack her down, and then go out and mix up some paint and get ready to do the water drop effect.
This effect will be the first in an elaborate design that will contain many effects. And back in California, Yvonne's G6 is rolled into the booth for its initial coat. The silver makes the scene here at Crazy Painters, and with that, it's safe to say that this competition is truly underway. Nearby, Yvonne works with a professional mask cutter, a specialist who creates stencils needed for the sides. Soon, masking for the stripes begins.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about covering that up because that'll just wipe off. The wheels are here.
Oh, cool. Yay! The wheels are here. Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. That looks cool.
Oh, those are cool.
And up north, more wheels arrive.
Wow, look at those.
They're covered.
Sweet. Ain't that pretty?
Then there's some shiny wheels.
Those look nice.
I decided to go with more graphics on this design rather than all airbrush because from a distance, when you look at airbrush, it tends to get lost. Doesn't matter how much crazy stuff you got going on. If that means these guys have to help out and lay big areas because that's their specialty.
Yvonne's stripes are carefully positioned in her design, accentuating in some areas and redirecting the eye in others. And making the car look fast comes with the motion a graphic like this suggests. Because when stripes are applied, much of the goal is about conveying movement.
Her design moves when the car is standing still, so that's good. It has motion to it.
So as tape comes off and stripes are revealed, there are no two ways about it. Yvonne is off to a seriously strong start.
Thank you, Mitch.
You're welcome.
You did a good job. Now I'm excited. Now I can do my thing.
Meanwhile, Mike's G6 is prepped, and overhead, the man loosens up to compete, soon hitting the surface with, of all things, a water bottle.
Okay, I'm gonna take the water and I'm gonna give it a spray across the whole car, putting the water drop effects down. The water drop is actually gonna be a three-dimensional mask. And Pep is gonna go and spray the gray in a graduated fade on there, and then we're gonna come back and wipe the water off right away. Once we wipe the water off, it'll take the paint off and leave the silver showing through the gray, and it'll give it sort of like a corroded metal-looking effect. It's pretty cool, actually. It's simple. Some of the most complicated looking effects in custom paint are the simplest.
And once the water drop effect is on, Shane applies the first stencil.
This car here, it's got some pretty decent body lines on it already. Where it's a four-door, I'm gonna try to make it look a little racier, you know, maybe more sporty than a four-door would normally looks. Gotta figure out a way to utilize that body mold trim, making it something like one of the rods. You know what I mean? Make it almost like a three-dimensional rod coming out of the paintwork. Shane and I will put the mask on the car, peel out what we need, spray it, and just what it'll do, it'll give us basically an outline, like a coloring book. And all that is a guide to get you going. There's a lot of work that's going to be done after that. This matches the G6 grill, so that's what's going to be really cool about it. So we have these holes with this honeycomb effect, and then the grill down here, it will look like the car was made up of these sections of these grills. So when you do something like this with an intricate mask like this, and you spray it and you peel it up, it's just like a kid opening a present at Christmas time. You're like, oh, let's see what we got.
Meanwhile, in California, Yvonne's G6 has its silver base and its bold yellow stripes. And now, it's ready for Yvonne to get all artistic on it.
All the yellow is going to have to be back masked out. And then the next step is going to be putting the vinyls out so I can reverse out the background. And there's an area where I've got this woman's kind of figure there. And I'm going to cover all that up, put background on behind, and then start doing all my little detail work, and then, of course, the mural on the hood, too.
Graphic artists can use more tools than you'd find in your average car painting shop or your average fine art studio. That's because they make art that can withstand any assault nature delivers. And while durability is one issue, innovation is another, with these artists always trying new textures and experiments. They all want to make art that has everybody wondering how it was done. But that's also an experience a painter can have while working, because even an artist like LaValle can sometimes stand back after a day of masking and ask, how did it get from a bare car to this?
Masking is when you tape off an area that you don't want to be painted, and it's typically if you want a hard edge, it has to have some kind of a hard edge line, which is mostly tape. And after you tape off an area and you paint it, you want to protect it from the next layer of paint, so that's backmasking. So you go in and you cover that up with tape or paper, and then you do the next step. So it's a lot of adding and subtracting.
Adding and subtracting where the end equation should equal cool squared. At LaValle's Killer Paint, the pre-show has been on for a while. Now, the man is ready to roll.
It's time to get at it. Playing with paint. What we're gonna be doing on this car here, it's gonna take basically a small amount of color, probably 3, maybe 4 colors at the most. It's gonna be white, black, and a couple of tinting colors. And the way we're gonna build up the shape and form is you're gonna work with light and dark. Basically, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take what we have here, all these exposed areas, kind of lock them down with some color, like this.
An elaborate mask getting what looks like a little paint. But for those who don't know Mike's work, listen up. Just remember this step when you finally see the finished car.
I mean, it doesn't look like much right now, and people looking at this right now, you know, may have that don't look that good. But basically all I'm doing is putting down the foundation for the rest of it.
And soon that mummy will be buried under paint. Sweet. So as more of Mike's masking peels away, Yvonne moves forward with her side of this paint off, a competition between pros working in a field dominated by men.
This is definitely an industry that doesn't have too many women in, and the few women that are in it definitely do stick out like sore thumbs. And it can be a plus and it can be a minus too. On the one hand, you can get your foot in the door, and on the other hand, there's always a little bit of tension, and that's why you don't see too many women in it. But I guess it kind of goes with the territory. I love what I do. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
The world will soon see what's going on behind Yvonne's masking, mixing, and spraying. She works fast with her team, having ideas sketched out before diving in. Much of the fun comes as designs peek out peel by peel, giving clues as to just what the artist has in store for the finished car. Yvonne's style evokes images ranging from the 1920s to the year 3000. It's retro-futuristic, and along the way, every bit of it tells a story.
The story that I had in mind when I did this was, let's take some of the old and bring it into the new. Let's take the old style Pontiac hood emblem and make it look new, you know, sort of take some of that ancient history and make it modern again.
And modern is the key word that gives us the full spectrum of our competition. With Yvonne presenting futuristic images on her G6, just as LaValle goes for an uncovering of ancient, once-buried Egypt.
I think it's gonna work, okay? Because I can foresee what this is gonna look like with all the other work I'm gonna do on top of this. Right now, it just looks like a big old stencil that we sprayed over, which is exactly what it is.
And once that stencil is out of the way once and for all, Mike comes in with his handheld stencil, creating shapes that come to life thanks to his airbrush. Meanwhile, Yvonne's airbrush brings her design to life, one smooth spray at a time. It's a design that's changed a bit since its original layout, as she sees there are some lines she'd rather have less interrupted than first planned.
The major change that I made on this design when I laid it on the car was, on the drawing I've got the woman overlapping this yellow graphic, and when we laid it out on the car we decided we don't really want to compete and cover up the yellow. So, as you can see, here's where the yellow comes through, and you can kind of see it underneath this mask off. We've got a pretty good space here. When I first did the drawing, I thought I was going to be putting like lots and lots of detail right back in this whole cutout area. And when we put it on the car, we stood back and took a look at it. We kind of thought it doesn't really need more. It's got so much movement in it, and it's got nice, clean lines that I think I'm going to keep it pretty close to the way it is here in the drawing.
As both futuristic and retro designs have been seen in Yvonne's art, there are also other themes that often surface in her work.
My themes that show up quite a bit are female figures, and they have kind of a sensuality to them. All my work has kind of a futuristic feel to it.
Futuristic by way of an earlier decade.
Kind of a cross between a Art Deco, like a very modern Art Deco futuristic kind of look.
Uh-oh. Years of rivalry now lead to a prank.
Hello?
Is Yvonne there?
This is she.
Yvonne, this is Mike LaValle from Killer Paint.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
What's going on down there?
We're coming along on our design.
Yeah.
How are you coming? So what does your design look like anyway?
Well, mine's, it's coming along good. We got some cool stuff going on there. What are you doing down there on yours anyways?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Come on. What color are you using?
Cheater. Okay, right now I'm using black. How's that?
Black.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I want to know something else.
What?
What are you wearing down there? Seriously.
What am I wearing?
What are you wearing?
A pair of jeans. Are you a pervert? A pair of jeans and a top. How's that?
Oh, me too. Me too.
What did you think I was wearing? A bikini? Jeez.
I'm sorry. I was the bad man there. Well, I just want to wish you luck with your project.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Same to you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to get back in the booth.
Okay.
So you have fun with it, and we'll see what we see when we're all done.
Yeah,
Take
sounds
care,
cool.
Yvonne. Good talking to you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Same to you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Where's Mike? He's so sweet. He's so cute.
She's so smoked.
They act like it's friendly, but Yvonne believes in an age-old creed. It's a creed pitting male against female, one style against another, and most of all, in this case, Yvonne against Mike.
Like I always say, if you want something done right, you hire a woman.
It's our graphic art paint-off. On one side, Yvonne Michelis puts her entry on the line just outside of LA, at Crazy Painters in Bellflower, California. At Killer Paint, Mike LaValle gives his entry undivided attention.
This is going to get the most attention because this is the centerpiece, okay? But it's the little stuff that he does, like all these little hoses and stuff that we got to do in here, all the stuff that's going to go on here that's just, it's going to eat up a lot of time.
And time is a factor in this contest, especially when Mike also has a business to run. A business that needs Mike on every vehicle that comes through here. Back with Yvonne, she moves from the side to the hood, a part she removes from the car and hangs like a canvas.
The first step is taping off the area in which the artwork's going to be.
And then it's masking that will also become a drawing board for the graphic.
I use a sticky paper that I put on that I can draw on and cut the design out of.
So now it's both pencil and blade work.
And from there, I go from every individual little part, and it has to be individually masked off, either with paper tape and airbrushed, one step at a time.
So from our woman of the future to our pharaoh of the past, it's all about time. As we now see that Mike has put a lot of hours into his art. It's a concept mixing alien textures with unearthed relics of another age.
The whole idea of this car was to do a Geiger meets ancient Egypt theme. So I had to do some research. I mean, I've learned a little bit about, Egyptian gods and art and all that. So I picked out a few of them that I thought were interesting and decided to incorporate them into the artwork.
They're in the artwork, and many represent Mike's sly sense of humor.
There's lots of little things that I'm hiding in this paint job. It's not just a bunch of stuff going on. There's actually some pretty cool stuff going on. Little hieroglyphics. Here we got like a little sort of a reptilian-looking eye looking out from inside the whole thing.
That eye will soon see a lot of people staring at this ride.
Now what I'm doing right now is I'm basically taking my little guideline that we sprayed down earlier, and I'm just enhancing it. So I'm getting rid of it, actually.
The detail he achieves is amazing, and in this case, it's done with few colors.
And the whole thing about this car that we're doing is all two colors, basically. The artwork is black and white. I'm just playing with light and dark and shadow and building shape and form with it. So you don't have to get all confused with colors and anything like that. Just remember where your light source is, go to town.
This work also represents Mike's newfound knowledge of Egyptian history.
And I was calling this the Eye of Ra. And it's not the Eye of Ra, it's the Eye of Horus, I think. So, all you Egyptologists out there, I'm sorry.
Back with Yvonne, the figure on her hood also has a mythic quality. She's an electric shock of a beauty who could have a story rivaling even a pharaoh's history. So while the goddess on Yvonne's hood evolves, Mike makes his art look three-dimensional.
This is kind of one of my favorite parts right here. It's sort of like an air intake, but I made it look like the inside of a rib cage. Like if you took a side of beef and you cut it in half, and you look like the inside of a rib cage. When this is cleared, it's gonna look like you can stick your hand right back in here.
And sometimes Mike's details come from places you'll never figure out until he explains it all.
My friend Nicole was in here the other day with her little daughter while I was working on it. And she had a fistful of Twizzlers, the little red licorice. And we were showing her the hood, and she took the Twizzlers and went, bam! She threw them on the hood, right? So I cleaned it all up, and as a sort of like a paying tribute to that little episode, I painted the hair on this god here to look like Twizzlers.
He puts a lot of work into every area, with new areas yet to be started.
I just kind of want it Probably right about there at that angle.
With more stencil work on the ride, Mike will now confront yet another creature here on the G6. At Crazy Painters, Yvonne has quickly taken the hood from bare to bold, making incredible headway with her graphics. Her tribute to Fritz Lang and his Metropolis-like creation comes to life, as masking is soon replaced by hand templates that shape the details. Peeling away the masking is always the fun part, the reward that comes after a lot of hard work. And now that the hood is closer to completion, what comes next? For Mike, it's the always entertaining Pef, a man with a special problem.
Did you let the chicks in the shop?
I told them to stay outside.
Damn it, I told them I was working, they won't leave me alone.
You're a chick magnet.
As for his design, Mike's kicked it up a notch.
In the words of Emerald Lagasse,
Bam! With LaValle, his intricate murals bring one cool surprise and story after the other.
what I got going on underneath here is sort of like a TV screen, X-ray screen type of thing. So it's gonna look like a piece of glass. And the edge was getting a little cloudy on the edges, so I want to crisp it up. So I put the mask back over it, and I'm just redefining that dark edge around the outside so it'll pop the glass away from the background.
So as the masking comes off, this bonehead finally gets a look outside. Meanwhile, Yvonne's creature of the moment is getting a few thousand volts. Shockwaves that might explain the electric look in her eyes. Eyes we will again see once more masking is peeled away. And after the masking, it's time to take a moment and make all of this personal for Yvonne. At Mike's, the archaeological dig includes a chemical reaction.
Okay, in the movie Alien, the alien's blood was sort of like an acid. So I want to make this stone kind of look like it's been eaten away, like if something dropped on it and sort of ate away a little divot out of the stone. So what I did is I kind of made a little rough outline of a shape and then start filling in. Remember, the light's coming from up here, so the shadow is going to be, if I wanted to look in, I'm going to put the shadow on the upper side and the light on the bottom side. Highlight the edge. Little stuff like that really makes a big difference.
It's a mix of elements displayed here, both mineral and animal.
Just gotta look cool, you know?
Mike's melding of sci-fi and ancient history comes together.
When I'm done with this, it's gonna look like bands of muscle. You know, like this is like a skin that there's portholes in. You can see the muscle bands underneath like this.
A lot is coming together back at Crazy Painters. Yvonne's ride is looking good. And to help with some final steps, our artist is lucky to have one of the top pinstripers in the business.
Yvonne, you want to fix these colors?
Tom Kelly's palette has an amazing history.
This is my palette. This is what I use. And this was made by Big Daddy Ed's Ross' father. It was made for me. And he made one for his son too, Ed. And I've been using it ever since, almost 50 years. So it's all I've ever used. This has a lot of history with it.
For Tom, the car is not complete without the pinstriping.
I've always compared it to like a three-piece suit without putting the tie on, you know, or a pair of tennis shoes without the shoelaces. It just doesn't look finished. You know, a nice, proper stripe helps every car. There isn't any car out there that can't have a stripe that wouldn't help it.
And of course, when you stripe like Tom, you also do expert lettering. It's a trade as old as the car itself, and it's never gone out of style, taking any vehicle and making it look better. LaValle once had quite a career as a pinstriper, but now his more elaborate graphics have become his stock in trade. Graphics that take time to make just right.
I mean, that looks okay like that, but when you do this, I could hand cut all these things. This is just an incredible time saver, and just like anything else, it's another tool to get my job done. See, now they look like they're indented into that metal. I miss you, Yvonne. I hope you're doing well with your car down there. I got a little surprise in store for you.
A surprise from a guy full of surprises.
There you go. Cool.
After a lot of work, even his pal Pef wonders if the end is in sight.
Aren't you finished yet?
I'm trying.
Can you hurry up?
With Mike, there's no hurrying, as he makes some of the most detailed graphics you'll ever find on a vehicle. Of course, this kind of art is beyond the car shop, with work that has most people thinking, this just has to be some sort of enlarged decal, until a good close look tells them otherwise.
Okay, I think that's it.
And now that that is it, Mike's gonna spray texture all over the top of it.
Now that we got all the artwork pretty much in place, now we're gonna give it some moisture. I'm gonna take the water and actually spray water onto the hood of the car and all over the artwork. And then we're gonna spray some white paint on it, let it evaporate, candy over it, and then come back with the black and hide the water drops in the shadow. So it only looks like the water is gonna be on the high points of the artwork. So it'll give it another texture.
By having to go back to retouch all the shadows, it's mind-boggling to think just how much work remains. But Mike is fast, and if anyone knows how to make the next layer even cooler than the last, it's LaValle.
That's it. Now we just gotta let it dry.
We now head to Crazy Painters, where Yvonne Michelis is completing her entry for our paint-off. An incredible design that turns a four-door Pontiac into the slickest sports race.
Man, this car sure is shiny. I wonder who did such a nice buff job on it.
From buffing in Bellflower, it's back to painting with Mike LaValle, and his present rendering is special.
My last little bit on this car is pay a little homage to my fellow painter. Gonna do a little Geiger-esque version of you here right on the back of the car, a little surprise. I got a nice shot of you right here. Very beautiful. Hopefully I don't torture you too bad. And we'll see if we can pull this thing off.
Well, pulling off a likeness is child's play for Mike, an artist who loves to surprise his audience.
I was really loose and fast with the rest of the painting on the car. And I think on this one here, I'm just gonna just like slow down, try to get this as good as I can. I think right now, I think I got a good start on it.
He has a good start on it, but leave it to Pef to shatter the concentration of even the most dedicated artist.
So how's it going?
Like all of Mike's work, you never know what you have until the very last layer.
I think that's it.
Time to tell the world who did this.
Got to sign this thing, so I'm gonna put the company logo right here. Make it look like it's embossed out of the base coat, just kind of like the hieroglyphic stuff. And then we'll do a little tearaway around it.
The end seems near, but not for Mike. He still has a shock in store for the ride.
This is kind of a layout of the car, Pef. These are the shreds that we're gonna do. The white areas will be the silver areas of the car with the artwork, and this is what we're gonna cover.
Yes, it's hard to believe. He's going to cover a lot of the art he's already done.
The four-door doesn't help anything, but we're hoping that these angular slashes that we're going to put in the paint job are going to lengthen it, are going to kind of hide the second door, kind of, and play off of the body lines a little bit and, make it a little more aggressive looking.
As it often does, it starts with Shane mapping out masking on the computer.
How are we doing on the shreds?
I got the driver's side done. I just got them all separated and everything here. And they're getting ready to plot right there.
So the green is the actual mask that's going to cover cover the artwork, and the red is what's going to be exposed and we're going to paint.
Right.
Okay, very good.
So just when you thought the final mask had been peeled away, it's time for masking like we've never seen before.
We're actually going to be doing 2 paint jobs. An underpainting, which is all the artwork and all the dark artwork. And then on top of it, we're going to be doing just like a regular base coat paint job and do some metallic tearaways. So it's going to look like this bluish purple base color that we're going to do is going to be peeling away off of and exposing this intricate artwork underneath. I think we're good.
Okay.
All along, we had no idea this was really a blue car, with random, violent, animal-like gashes, massive tears exposing both Egyptian relics as well as Geiger-influenced surprises. It's like LaValle's clients claim. You don't know what it's going to be until Mike walks away from it. And once that occurs, well, that's usually when all of the amazed staring begins. Soon Pef has all that blue aboard the G6. And back on the California G6, reassembly continues, with Mitch and the team at Crazy Painters putting together the Pontiac sporting the designs of Yvonne Michelis.
It's like NASCAR, only slower.
So as Yvonne sees all of her hard work come together, she has to feel great.
Pièce de résistance, gonna sit down. Damn, that makes it look good.
Mitch is right about that. And as the hood goes back on, it's clear that Yvonne knows how to take a car and turn it into one radical, eye-catching one-off. It's a ride that makes a statement any way you look at it.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I love the wheels. The wheels and the spoiler just really make it stand out. It's just everything I wanted. It looks kick-ass. Mike, you're in for trouble. I'm sorry, but this car kicks ass.
Back at Mike's, the masking comes off the now blue car.
If anything's going to go wrong, it's going to be right now.
Don't say that.
I love the blue. I know it's going to look like clear. It's going to be stunning out in the sun.
Out in the sun, surrounded by people who will put a story together as they study this car. It could be a tale of age peeling the car apart, or it could be a prehistoric beast who ripped it open. Whatever the version, Mike's art does what art is supposed to do. It gets your gears turning. And to help the story even more, Mike will add dimension to the tearing.
Okay, we're remasking the car with a clear, transparent mask. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw these little tears like this. And then Shane's gonna come behind me and cut them out, peel them out, and then I'm gonna come and paint them. And they're gonna actually be like metallic. It's gonna look like chrome almost. It looks like the paint, the metal is being torn away, exposing all this underneath throughout the whole car. So we got a lot of work to do.
He has a lot of work to do because he paints many layers, making every layer stunning.
Oh, yeah. Chaka chaka.
Reflections, shadows, and perspective. He works it all, thinking ahead to keep an image of what it will look like once the masking is removed.
Kid at Christmas, baby.
And of course, there's one step Mike is always thinking about: what it will look like under a shiny layer of clear coat.
It's time for the shiny look.
Here at Killer Paint, Pep gives Mike LaValle's project the clear coat. It's been a long trip from the first sketches to the final reassembly, and the team here knows they've just made one killer G6. Mike LaValle's creation rolls out of the booth for its last few pieces. So after enough work, construction, toil, and most of all, painting, it's done. Like any Mike LaValle ride, You can't help it when you lose yourself, studying the car, discovering something new with each and every pass. Now, we're calling all this a paint-off, but what's a contest without a competitor? Well, that's where our other car comes in. Jealous, it's been an exciting journey, because the lady and her team assembled here have put together one amazing redesigned ride. The meeting place is the tagging community of Venice, California, a region that's a bit like the car world, with a mindset that says, while the rest of the world might not get it, we know what we do is true and actual art. And when it comes to art, the painters down here know it when they see it.
Some in-depth artwork right here. Really stands out real nice. Pretty incredible. Mad props whoever did these.
With the cars brought down earlier, Mike and Yvonne now arrive, and it's safe to say that both artists are impressed, looking at the other G6 as though they'd like to drive off in it.
That is really cool. You really put some thought into it. That's amazing. Not that I had any doubts, because I knew you'd do an awesome kick-ass job.
Yeah, well.
You did. That is
These
beautiful.
portholes, I'm going to be stealing.
Few know the shape of the car like these two, knowing all of its dimensions.
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. It pops. It's got a lot of pop to it. As opposed to ours, it's kind of dark and more organic. This is very crisp and mechanical, and I really like that part of it.
The two concepts couldn't be further apart, and they both know it.
Amazing. He did an incredible job. I didn't know that he was going to do the tearaway. I figured he'd do something similar to this, but I never would have expected this ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic look with the very modern space-age kind of science fiction look, too. It's really incredible.
Peffley doing the base coat and the clear, and we got the artistic eye, and there's me with the hat and the airbrush with the house of color.
And of course, Yvonne's husband likes the special art on the back of Mike's ride.
That looks beautiful. I'll give him a little credit. He might have some skills. I'm not sure about that.
It's me. My crew.
When the teams arrive, it's a chance for them to spend quality time with the opposing ride, eager to see how the other crew made it all work.
Mike, can you tell us what this says?
Yeah, what do the hieroglyphs actually say? Kelly suck.
No. All right.
Okay, spray paint has been spotted by both Yvonne and Mike, so there seems to be no way of stopping them now. These two are going to paint, and paint big, because when in Rome, or in this case Venice, you just have to grab that color and put it up there for the world to see. Their other paint, the color on those cars, those works, as expected, are drawing a crowd of their own here on the beach.
Sensationell. Sensationell. Traumhaft. Beautiful.
Both beautiful. But is there a winner? Well, here's the deal. As the gathering goes on, it seems the paint-off has been called off, with both Yvonne and Mike agreeing that this 8-wheeled race has ended in a draw. Doing what they love most, they spray the day away, knowing the painters have a special way of coming together, creating friendships that are works of art.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
I think so. I think we did a good job.
We did a great job.
Great job on both their tagging, and of course, it goes without saying, but we just have to say it anyway. They're painted up and coolly customized rides. Rides that deserve another big look. pretty good for our first graphic paint-off. It's not every contest that can have 2 absolute winners.